Welcome to the Crossing the Chasm podcast. On this podcast, we journey to cross the chasm and reconcile the two great religions of Christianity and Judaism. We will do this by learning about the various traditions of these faiths and by addressing important topics and questions through the reviewing of scripture, relevant scholarship, and interviews that can guide us on this journey. If you want to join us on this journey of reformation and reconciliation, please consider subscribing.
Hello, my name is Michael Cartwright. Welcome to episode 4 of the Crossing the Chasm podcast, where we are seeking reconciliation and reformation through exploring points of intersection and commonality. Today's episode will be a shorter one than usual, and it will be one of the last foundational episodes. Moving forward after this episode, we will be jumping into a Jesus series and a Paul series, as well as some interviews and reviews of articles and books. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about how understanding the concept of worldview has helped me in my journey of crossing the chasm between Christianity and Judaism. My wife, she has to wear glasses. She can see things up close, but objects or people farther away start to get blurry. Now me, on the other hand, I can see pretty well farther and closer. All of us fall on some part of the spectrum of visual acuity. Our vision is ingrained within us. And usually our vision is something that is inherited unless there is some kind of external stimuli that affected our vision. Now further, we can adjust our vision through means of contact lenses or eyeglasses, or continue with our pre-existing vision. Now, if we have many differences in our vision physically with our eyes, how much more would we also have differences in regard to the vision in our minds? The vision in our mind is our worldview. All of us have a worldview. It is ingrained within us. It is usually inherited culturally, but can be affected by external influences. And if we are self-aware of our worldview, we can adjust our worldview if we see fit. How we view the world is based on presuppositions and beliefs, which shape how we make sense of the world and everything in it. This, in turn, influences such things as how we see ourselves as individuals, how we see others, how we interpret our role in society, how we deal with social issues, how we see the past, how we see the future, and what we regard as truth. All these aspects are usually harmonized within a narrative that is articulated and reflected in our language and symbols we hold as important. But how does this help in crossing the chasm between Christianity and Judaism? Well, it's helped me in understanding the context of the Bible, especially in understanding the Gospels and the epistles. Understanding the context is critical to understanding any passage of Scripture we approach. The context includes the geographical, historical, cultural, and spiritual settings. If we are to understand these ancient documents, we have to understand the aforementioned 4 settings. Personally, I've not fully grasped all of the settings, as it is challenging to really know what was going on for sure so long ago. But as I have grown in understanding, it has helped me to make sense of the Bible and start to see a continuity between the so-called Old and New Testaments. In my studies, I've learned that we have to understand the author as well as the audience being written to in the scriptures. This is why understanding worldview is important. In the foreword of the book, The Jewish Gospels, the story of the Jewish Christ, authored by Daniel Boren, Jack Miles says the following: all texts, including scripture, are read through the filter of what one already knows. Subsequently, Jack Miles gives examples of how certain Christian theological presuppositions can make us slide past certain passages that don't fit into our theological paradigms. This applies to worldview as well. We are prone to read our own worldview into the scripture and simply ignore anything that does not fit into our worldview. This can be problematic because, for one, we are not receiving the whole counsel of God, and two, our understanding as American Christians of certain concepts or figures of speech are usually not the same understanding of Jesus and his apostles. We have to investigate and find out what these concepts meant to the original audience. To illustrate this, I usually like to give the example of Jesus when he is on the cross. The thief on the cross next to him says the following in Luke 23:42-43. Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus answered him, "Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Now, when Jesus tells him that today you will be with me in paradise, why didn't the thief turn back to him and say, "Jesus, what is paradise? That's not in the law and the prophets." Well, he didn't need to say that because there was already an understanding of what paradise was in their Jewish worldview. And there are more examples of concepts and vocabulary like this in the Gospels and the epistles. And we cannot understand these concepts until we understand their worldview. And we will try to do this, God willing, in future episodes. So I'm going to end it here, but I want you to think about your worldview. What is your worldview made of, and how and why do you know that it's true? Become more aware of your worldview and how it affects you and in the decisions that you make in your life. And then think about, how does that worldview affect how you approach and interpret the scriptures? If you found this episode valuable, please like and subscribe and share with your family and friends. Thank you, and God bless.